Your home is a toxic lie. Your home is a lie, not haunted, worse. It's a legal test site dressed up as fresh linen. I mean, seriously, your pillowcase is basically a diffuser, and your pan is a chemistry demo you eat off. Here's the cost. You breathe it, wear it, and wash it down the drain. Your kids' eyelids, your pets on the carpet, your wallet on water bills when utilities chase what products shed. So why do labels look clean while the air doesn't? And how do you fix it without turning your sink into a lab? The smoke alarm chirps. Eggs slide on a non-stick pan. A blanket still smells fresh after 2 washes. A lotion promises gentle. None of those labels mention that in other countries, dozens of the chemicals inside are banned or tightly restricted. That fresh linen scent, a black box fragrance blend that can hide allergens and fixatives. BPA-free, often code for BPS instead. The Glide Your Fork pan, part of a PFAS web moving through air, dust, and takeout boxes. Stakes are simple: air, skin, kids, pets, and your wallet. We're going room by room, kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, laundry, to show how loophole language turned home into a place where chemistry sticks. Labels say intent, not inventory. Fragrance can hide dozens, contaminants don't have to be listed. To see how this lie became the default, we have to go back to the rulebook that decided whether your living room smells like fresh linen or a lab. The safety gap, how the rules made your house a test site. To understand the gap, you have to hear how 2 systems ask different questions. In much of Europe, regulators lean on precaution. If credible signals of harm appear, endocrine disruption, persistence, bioaccumulation, they limit exposure while they learn. In the US, the default has been prove harm first. If risk isn't established at typical doses, products move forward. On paper, it's philosophy. In a shower, it's contact time on your eyelids. Meanwhile, oversight splits your life into categories you don't live by. An antiperspirant is an over-the-counter drug. A disinfecting wipe is a pesticide if it claims to kill microbes. A candle is a consumer good. A pan is cookware, but the stain guard on your sofa is a treatment. You experience it as one home. The law sees multiple agencies and carve-outs. Marketing fills the quiet gaps with soft words. Natural, dermatologist-tested, reef-friendly, none of which are binding standards for what your skin actually touches. Here's the largest hiding place in your house: fragrance. In the US, one word, fragrance, parfum, aroma, can legally stand in for dozens of chemicals, including solvents, fixatives, and phthalates. Because the recipe is a trade secret, you're not told which allergens are inside or which musks will linger in dust. Across the Atlantic, many common allergens must be listed by name once they cross tiny thresholds. That difference turns an eyelid rash from a guessing game into a solvable puzzle. In your bedroom, it decides whether your pillowcase is a diffuser. What nobody tells you on the label: contaminants aren't ingredients, so they don't have to appear. Ethoxylated surfactants can carry 1,4-dioxane unless suppliers strip it out. Aerosol propellants can introduce benzene when supply chains slip. Certain amines can form nitrosamines in the wrong conditions. The panel you read is a declaration of intent, not a full inventory of what floats in your air or sits on your skin. Substitution keeps the shelf calm. BPA-free sometimes means BPS instead, a cousin with similar endocrine questions. Paraben-free launched waves of formulas that quietly added isothiazolinones or formaldehyde-releasing preservatives. You got the cleaner label. Dermatology clinics got the rash log. In long-wear makeup, performance often rode on fluorinated additives until retailer policies forced better documentation. The promise stayed. The molecule changed. While that was happening in New York, a state cap on 1,4-dioxane pushed suppliers to vacuum strip surfactants and tighten specs. The same brand looked identical. Residues fell. Downstream, water utilities spent less chasing a ghost through wells. You felt it as fewer headaches in a steamy laundry room. That's how state rules and retailer standards became shadow regulators, quiet specs that moved national formulas because maintaining 2 versions is expensive. Meanwhile, science caught up in people, not pamphlets. Biomonitoring tracked population markers for phthalates, PFAS, bisphenols, and certain UV filters. When markets phased out a phthalate in fragrance or tightened PFAS in makeup, human levels shifted too. That's the lever that breaks fatalism. Lower what's in products and you lower what's in people. Workers felt the draft first. Custodians fogging quats in sealed rooms, cashiers handling thermal receipts then grabbing snacks, stylists breathing heat-released fumes, preschool teachers laundering nap mats in scented detergent. Fixes were boring: peroxide over quats, email receipts, donor-free back bars, fragrance-free laundry. Nurse logs shrank. One more blind spot hides at the hinge between product and person: packaging. The container is chemistry. Oil in soft plastic in a hot garage picks up what the plastic lets go. A balm in a jar you dip wet fingers into needs harsher preservation than the same balm in an airless pump. Can linings leach more into acidic tomatoes than into beans? None of that sits on the neat list you scan. So how did your living room become a test site? A legal framework that rewards doubt over precaution. A fragrance trade secret that hides both allergens and endocrine active add-ons. Contaminant loopholes that keep labels clean while products aren't. A marketing vocabulary that looks like safety but isn't a standard. And an exposure reality that stacks. A plug-in, a scented trash bag, a fresh detergent, a dryer sheet, and a candle are 5 decisions but 1 indoor air. Here's the part that changes behavior. The exits are real and they don't require a lab. Fragrance-free defaults for what hits the most skin and fabric. Airless pumps that let milder preservatives work. Soap and water for daily cleaning, disinfectants when earned with contact time and ventilation. Glass and stainless where heat and acid lie. Digital receipts. And one more thing, ask different questions, not slogans. Specs. How do you control 1,4-dioxane in ethoxylated input? Do you use intentionally added fluorinated ingredients? Which preservatives are in this formula? Do you disclose EU-listed fragrance allergens globally? If support can answer with methods and numbers, that's a green light. If they can't, that's an answer too. Your house wasn't designed as a chamber. It became one by habit and loophole. Change the defaults, and your air starts sounding like rooms again, not a rule book. Kitchen heat map. Non-stick, packaging, and grease-resistant coatings. The turning point sits at your stove. You flick the burner higher, the pan gives a sweet hiss, and breakfast sounds like competence. Meanwhile, something else is happening in that thin, invisible layer that makes eggs glide. Non-stick performance wasn't invented for your omelet alone. It's part of a larger family, PFAS, built to repel oil, water, and friction on pans, wrappers, and stain guards. Heat and oil are accelerants. They don't just cook food, they move chemistry. Steaks first. This is air at nose level in a room that traps what you breathe. It's crumbs on a high-chair tray and a takeout box you hold with warm hands. It's a couch sprayed for protection where your kid naps after lunch. PFAS earned their nickname, forever chemicals, because they don't break down easily. What lands on your pan or wrapper can reappear in dust, rinse water, or the next warm surface that meets a mouth. Action in a kitchen like yours. A home cook dials a non-stick skillet to hide a get-restaurant sear. A faint smoke curls, the room smells a little sharp, a bird in the next room gets restless. That whisper of fumes wasn't in the manual. Meanwhile, across town, a takeout order arrives in boxes that gleam slightly inside. Fries leave perfect dark triangles on the liner. Grease meets a fluorinated barrier and stalls. The food cools, the sheen stays. Later, the same family wipes a sauce blot off the sofa arm treated with a stain guard last fall. The spot lifts. The cloth smells a little like lemon and something unnameable. They solved 3 messes. They added 1 map. Here's the moment everything changed for one household. A cast iron pan arrived from a grandparent, heavy and honest. The first week was rough: stuck eggs, scraped spatulas, impatient mornings. Then they learned heat, oil, and patience. The surface smoothed and breakfast stopped requiring high flame. They kept 1 small PFAS-free ceramic skillet for delicate things and retired the old chipped pan that smoked too easily. The kitchen got quieter. So did a cough. Unknown to them, across the map, retailers and states rewrote specs. Some large chains banned intentionally added PFAS in house brand cookware and food packaging. Several states began moving against PFAS in grease-resistant wraps. Suppliers responded the way supply chains always do, by standardizing. Boxes changed coatings. Labels acquired small badges. PFAS-free pan, designed for lower temp use, no aerosol sprays needed. Yet the lag still lived on shelves and in drawers. You inherit older versions in yard sales, rentals, and office kitchens. The box says non-stick. It doesn't say which decade of chemistry does the job. Let's decode what helps right now. On the stove, aim for stainless steel, cast iron, or carbon steel for high-heat cooking. They take seasoning, tolerate scrubbing, and won't off-gas at a sneeze of flame. If you keep a non-stick pan, pick one labeled PFAS-free and treat it like a specialist. Low to medium heat, no broilers, no empty preheating, no metal tools. When it scratches or peels, it's done. Pan sprays are a trap. Many aerosols carry propellants and additives that bake onto coatings and smoke sooner. A teaspoon of oil beats a cloud. Packaging is part of the recipe. That shiny takeout liner that resists a puddle is doing exactly what it was engineered to do. You don't have to argue with it. Just transfer hot food to a plate or glass container as soon as you can. For baking, parchment is your friend. For storage, glass and stainless behave better with heat and acidity. Microwave leftovers in glass or ceramic, not the container with the vague forkhandwave icon that warps under steam. Dust is the quiet highway. PFAS that leave pans and textiles settle on floors and shelves. Wipe with damp microfiber, not a dry sweep that launches particles into air. Run a vent when you cook, and if the hood doesn't actually vent outside, crack a window during searing. Air is a tool, not a luxury. 2 micro-stories to make it stick. A short-order cook keeps cranking the dial to compensate for a dying non-stick. Headaches arrive by the lunch rush. The owner replaces the station with stainless and teaches preheat plus oil. The cook ends the week without the familiar throb behind the eyes. A parent who loves crispy sheet pan wings lines trays with parchment instead of the glossy, grease-proof paper from a discount pack. Cleanup is the same. That faint chemical note after roasting disappeared. Manufacturing can meet you halfway. Brands that publish PFAS policies and test results are telling you they've done the upstream work. Retailers that phase out PFAS in cookware and packaging push suppliers to reformulate everything, not just house brands. When you pick a pan or a pack of parchment from those shelves, your receipt reinforces the spec. Reality check. PFAS didn't arrive through one villain product, and they won't leave by one heroic swap. But heat, oil, and time are levers you control daily. Keep high heat for metal pans, treat non-stick gently or skip it, move food out of coated boxes, favor glass around heat and acid, and let air do steady work. The kitchen stops being a fog machine. Breakfast goes back to sounding like eggs. Sink and shower chemistry. Ethoxylates and the 1,4-dioxane ghost. From the stove, we step to the sink where bubbles look innocent and the room turns into a steam chamber. Those silky, cushiony suds in dish soap and body wash often come from ethoxylated surfactants, ingredients that make harsh detergents feel soft. The catch lives off-label, 1,4-dioxane, a manufacturing byproduct that tags along unless suppliers strip it out. It isn't added on purpose, so you won't find it named, but it can ride every rinse. Takes first, this is repetition, thin skin and warm air. Hands in the sink 4 times a day. Kids in a tub where water climbs to their chins, scalps under hot showers with foam sluicing over eyelids. Rinse off sounds safe because contact is brief, but houses run on repeats. Down the drain, wastewater plants struggle to catch 1,4-dioxane. Communities end up paying to chase a ghost in wells. That's not a label problem, that's a pipeline. Action in a bright kitchen. A parent loves a dish liquid that leaves glasses squeak dry. The label says sodium lauryl sulfate. That ETH is your breadcrumb, an ethoxylated surfactant that can carry 1,4-dioxane unless cleaned. Nothing seems wrong until laundry day becomes a headache day in a small, steamy room. Unknown to them, their state caps 1,4-dioxane in consumer products. The same brand reformulates. Tiny text on the back starts bragging about purified surfactants. The headaches ease before anyone changes detergents again. 3 days earlier, a children's hospital study screens bubble baths and finds measurable 1,4-dioxane. Retailers send terse memos, lower residues or lose shelf space. Upstream, factories adjust catalysts, change temperatures, and most important, vacuum strip surfactants. The product looks identical. The drain carries less. Meanwhile, a hotel housekeeper cycles through dozens of bathrooms, refilling wall dispensers from bulk backbar. Repeated wet work turns hands raw by February. She asks procurement for MI-free, fragrance-free, low-residue lines and gloves at every sink. It's boring purchasing. Her steroid tube finally lasts a season. Here is how you read the room without becoming a chemist. Scan panels for ETH and PEG. Sodium lauryl sulfate, Cetireth 20, PEG 40 castor oil, polysorbate 20. Not automatic fails, but cues to ask brands how they control 1,4-dioxane, supplier specs, vacuum stripping, batch testing. If they answer with methods and numbers, great. If they send slogans, pivot to non-ethoxylated systems. Alkyl glucosides like cocoa glucoside and lauryl glucoside. Isthionates in bars, sarcosinates and sulfoxygenates that rinse clean without the same byproduct risk. A micro story that lands fast. A kid with eczema worships foam mountains. The parent swaps a Laureath heavy wash for a short list formula built on glucosides. The bubbles are smaller. The itch eases in a week. The hero wasn't a miracle plant. It was fewer residues plus fewer contaminants. Laundry is its own weather system. A runner's cough spikes on wash days in a windowless closet. He drops the Ultra detergent built on pegs and brighteners for a simpler powder with builders and enzymes, fragrance-free. He measures, not eyeballs. He opens the door and runs a fan for 10 minutes after each cycle. 2 weeks later, Hills don't taste like detergent. Regulatory drift matters here. New York wrote the first statewide limits on 1,4-dioxin in household cleansing and personal care products. Suppliers tightened processes because 2 SKUs are expensive. California is advancing action under its Safer Consumer Products program. EPA's TSCA work calls out down the drain contributions, and Safe Drinking Water Act steps are on the table. Translation: when a state or agency draws a line, your sink feels it as quieter air and fewer mystery headaches. Technique beats theater. In showers, use what you need, not what looks like a shampoo commercial. Shorter baths for kids. Keep foam behind the ears to spare eyelids. Ventilation is a tool. Run the fan during and 20 minutes after. If the fan doesn't move tissue paper, crack a window. At the sink, gloves for extended wet work protect skin barriers better than any repair cream. Label shortcuts you can learn in 10 seconds. Eth, PEG, oxynol, and polysorbate equal ethoxylates. Look for a brand statement about 1,4-dioxin controls. Glucoside, isthionate, sarcosinate, and true soap are your simpler bases. Bars built on syndates or saponified oils avoid the byproduct pathway. Just store them dry between uses. 2 more micro stories. A preschool swaps foaming hand soap for a low-residue liquid and teaches kids to rinse, then dry hands fully. Paper use goes up. Nurse visits go down. A landlord replaces scented restroom soap with a fragrance-free, non-ethoxylated refill and posts a 1-page hand-washing graphic. Complaints about chemical smell disappear by month's end. Reality check. Dose and contact time matter and rinsing helps, but repetition makes its own math. You don't need to memorize process diagrams. You need defaults that dodge the silent add-on, simpler surfactants where you can, proof of cleanup where you can't, and air that actually moves. When products stop releasing a ghost, your bathroom goes back to smelling like water and tile. Hygiene theater. Triclosan, triclocarban, and disinfectant drift. If antibacterial sounds like armor, here's the catch. In homes, it rarely beats plain soap. For years, Triclosan and triclocarban rode on pumps and bars, promising extra defense where technique already did the job. They left the drain carrying more than reassurance. In sediments and sludge, they persist. On skin, routine exposure doesn't reliably prevent illness. Contact time and context decide outcomes, not the word on the label. Takes first. This is hands, lungs, and rooms without airflow. Repeated antimicrobial exposure can irritate skin, select tougher microbes on surfaces, and fog small spaces with fumes that feel like clean. Meanwhile, wastewater plants aren't built to erase these actives. They settle, concentrate, and move through aquatic life. You smell a hospital-clean scent. Your river keeps the bill. Action in a hallway bathroom. Cold season hits, a family swaps in an antibacterial pump and a matching body wash. They feel responsible, pump, scrub, rinse. Nothing obvious changes at home except drier hands and a light film on the counter. Downstream, those actives ride to a plant that can't fully remove them. Sludge carries residues to soils. Sediments hold the rest. The bottle gave reassurance. The watershed kept score. Across town, a nurse brushes before nights with a toothpaste touting gingivitis control. Older formulas sometimes use Triclosan. She washes hands at work with 60-70% alcohol sanitizer. No theater, just evaporation and time. Her safest move was always technique. Brush well, floss, wash hands with plain soap, and respect contact time when disinfection is earned. Here's the regulatory pivot most people missed. In 2016, the FDA removed Triclosan, triclocarban, and several other actives from over-the-counter consumer hand and body washes because companies couldn't prove they were safer or more effective than plain soap and water. Shelves shifted. Loopholes stayed. Certain toothpastes, treated materials, and niche products fell under other rulebooks. The signal remained simple. For routine hand washing, you don't need an antimicrobial claim. Unknown to them, across town, a school secretary refilled foaming dispensers labeled antibacterial every morning. By spring, her knuckles were splitting despite lotion. Facilities switched to fragrance-free plain soap, posted a hand-washing graphic, and stocked a fragrance-free sanitizer for hall duty. 2 weeks later, her hands stopped cracking. The fix wasn't glamorous. It was a better product fit and fewer extras. Micro story from a kitchen that loves shortcuts. A home cook buys a cutting board sold as antibacterial. Day 1, it sounds safer. Week 5, knife scuffs mar the coating. The claim fades, the habit stays. Hot water, dish soap, and air drying were always the real move. Tuesday, crumbs never needed a biocide. Raw poultry spills sometimes do after cleaning with a disinfectant that lists clear actives and contact time, followed by a rinse on food contact surfaces. Workers felt the mismatch first. Custodians fogged rooms with antimicrobial mists in sealed spaces and developed coughs and rashes. After a switch to hydrogen peroxide cleaners for daily use, targeted disinfectants for true biohazards, timers for dwell times, and fans on during cleaning, symptoms dropped. The lesson was boring and sharp. Clean first, disinfect when earned, move air. Label translation you can do fast. For hand and body washes, skip antibacterial, plain soap works. If an active box lists Triclosan or Triclosan, put it back. For daily surfaces, soap, water, and microfiber lift biology. When you need a disinfectant, choose hydrogen peroxide or alcohol-based products. Respect the wet contact time, ventilate, and rinse food contact areas after heavy disinfection. Never fog a small room. It coats lungs without improving outcome. 2 more micro stories that stick. A coach bans aerosol, kills 99.9%, sprays in the locker room, brings in pump soaps and a peroxide cleaner, and props exterior doors open for 10 minutes post-practice. Coughs quiet. A cafe retires antibacterial cutting boards and adopts a 2-sink wash-rinse routine with microfiber. Health inspection passes. The kitchen stops tasting like chemical. Reality check. Antimicrobials belong in clinical and outbreak settings, not as background chemistry in your bathroom. Hands get clean with time, friction, and rinse. Counters get safe when crumbs and grease are removed before any disinfectant shows up. Air gets better when you move it. Save heavy hitters for the messes that earn them, post the contact time where people can see it, and make fresh smell like nothing. Color that clings. Hair dyes, PPD, and textile residues. From antibacterial promises, we shift to color, the kind that stains towels, saturates hair, and lingers long after the selfie. Permanent hair dyes run on oxidative chemistry. The workhorse is p-phenylenediamine, PPD, often paired with cousins like toluene 25-diamine, PTD. They bond hard and last, which is exactly why once your immune system tags them, tiny doses can light you up. Stakes first. This is sensitization with a long memory. Eyelids, hairlines, neck folds, ears, the thinnest skin zones carry the reaction. Once sensitized, a brow tint at a pop-up, residue on a pillowcase, even a black henna vacation tattoo laced with PPD can trigger swelling, blisters, and frantic clinic visits. Add real-world layers. Small bathrooms with poor ventilation, warm scalps under caps, rinse water that runs over eyelids, and sweaty workouts in dark. Dye heavy shirts rubbing the same neck crease for miles. Action at a mirror on a Saturday night. A student goes jet black with a box kit. The tingle feels normal. By morning, her eyelids balloon and her scalp weeps. The urgent care doctor points to the fine print p-phenylenediamine and the line she skipped. Patch test 48 hours in advance. Weeks later, she tries a boardwalk black henna that promises fast color. It's not henna, it's PPD in disguise. The pattern scars exactly where the design sat. Meanwhile, across town, a veteran colorist dreads winter. Hands fissure between fingers, wrists itch most on blowout days. Patch testing lights up PPD and PTD. She rebuilds her station. Nitrile gloves changed when wet, barrier cream under cuffs, mixing at arm's length, lids on developers, a fan behind each chair, and real patch tests for first-timers, tiny dabs 48 hours behind the ear. Clients who can tolerate it move to off-scalp techniques, highlights, and lower PPD lines. Her hands finally heal enough to work without a tube of steroid cream in her apron. A dad covers gray with a natural black kit, 5-minute promise done. That night, ears itch. By morning, scalp burns. He switches to a PPD-free box and reacts again, cross-reaction with PTD. He retreats to semi-permanent direct dyes, spaces out applications, and accepts a sharp cut with salt and pepper honesty. He recognizes himself in the mirror. His skin agrees. Labeled decoding you can do before the gloves go on. PPD may appear as p-phenylenediamine, p-diaminobenzene, or color index names tied to oxidative dye bases. PTD shows up as toluene 25-diamine sulfate. Ammonia-free says nothing about PPD. Lash and brow oxidative tints are higher risk because the application site is thin, sensitive skin near the eye. and black henna, a red flag. True henna stains reddish-brown and takes time. If it's jet black and instant, it's likely spiked. Ventilation and technique are half the formula. Mix in a room with moving air. Fans belong behind chairs, not at reception. Petroleum jelly along hairlines keeps dye off skin. Rinse back, not forward, to spare eyelids. Gloves that fit, nitrile beats latex for many, changed when wet. Patch test like you mean it. A pea-sized spot behind the ear or in the elbow crease, red at 48 hours, not 10. Sensitization can arrive late. A dye you tolerated last year can turn into a trigger this year. Textiles add a quiet layer most people miss. Deep blacks in inexpensive tees, leggings, and sports bras can carry dye residues that irritate sweaty skin. Pre-wash tight, dark garments in hot water with detergent before wearing, especially for workouts. If a new shirt makes your neck itch, it might be the dye, not the tag. Bedsheets count too. After coloring, wash pillowcases twice. Sweat and friction make contact time longer than you think. Policy snapshots explain the split you'll feel across borders. Many regions restrict PPD concentrations in hair dyes and require warnings. Products intended for direct skin application, like temporary black henna tattoos spiked with PPD, are banned outright. Enforcement is uneven at beach kiosks, but salon suppliers feel it. In practice, European reforms nudged brands toward clearer labeling and safer placement. On US shelves, you're reading panel code and trusting technique. Practical routines that hold in real bathrooms. If you color at home, stick with off-scalp methods where possible. Highlights, balayage, root taps that leave skin out of it. Space out applications and use barrier creams. After dyeing, avoid heavy occlusion under tight hats for a day. If you react, stop. Bring ingredient panels to a dermatologist for patch testing and leave with a personalized avoid list. Expect cross-reactions. PPD cousins can trigger you. 2 micro-stories to lock the habit. A bride-to-be schedules a patch test 2 months out. A mild reaction sends her to a colorist who builds a highlight plan with no scalp contact. Wedding photos look great. The ER stays out of it. A teen skips the black henna and buys a bracelet instead. She keeps the souvenir and her skin. Reality check. Permanent color is strong, useful chemistry that many people tolerate for years. The risk isn't abstract, and once sensitized, your path gets tighter. If color is part of who you are, manage it like a pro. Patch tests, ventilation, barrier, off-scalp placement, smarter labels, and dark textiles that see a hot wash before your neck does. When the color stops riding your skin and fabrics, the drama leaves with it. Leave on landmines, parabens, MI, MCI, and donor preservatives. We've rinsed the foam and moved the air. Now we're in the products that sit hours on thin skin, tucked under clothing, warmed by body heat. Leave-ons turn small choices into long contact. That's where preservation chemistry matters most. Stakes first. This is eyelids under concealer, lips under balm, diaper areas that are warm and occluded, and entire limbs covered in lotion every morning. Preservation prevents real problems. Water grows life, but the system you pick decides whether skin stays quiet or becomes a calendar of flares. 2 patterns drive most trouble. Sensitizers in modern blends and slow-release ghosts from formaldehyde donor. Let's make the paraben picture useful. Not all parabens behave the same. Short-chain methyl and ethyl parabens show weaker estrogenic signals in experimental systems than longer-chain propyl, isopropyl, and isobutyl parabens. Contact time changes the math. A shampoo touches for a minute. A face cream sits all day. So triage by time and territory. Be stricter where products linger on thin skin or large areas, especially under heat. Meanwhile, MI-MCI, the isothiazolinons that filled paraben-free holes a decade ago, drove a wave of contact allergy in clinics. In Europe, bans in leave-ons and tight limits in rinse-offs dropped allergy rates. That's the clue. Policy lines shift symptoms. In the US, you still find MI in hand soaps, dish liquids, wipes, and some creams. If your eyelids burn or lips sting, the culprit may be a gentle formula's preservative, not the fancy active. Then there are formaldehyde donors, preservatives that don't list formaldehyde but release it over time, especially with heat and steam. DMDM hydantoin, imidazolidinylurea, diazolidinylurea, quaternium 15, sodium hydroxymethylglycinate, bronopol. You'll see the donor's name near the end of the panel, never formaldehyde. Thin skin pays first. Action at a cramped sink. A grad student with stubborn perioral redness blames dairy and winter. A derm resident asks for labels. Her daily lotion and night cream both list propyl paraben and heavy fragrance. She trades up for a fragrance-free moisturizer in an airless pump preserved with sodium benzoate and gluconolactone. No long-chain parabens, no MI. 2 weeks later, the redness calms. She didn't discover a miracle. She removed a quiet irritant and a debated endocrine flag. Across the hall, a parent battles a diaper rash that looks sunburned by Friday. Sensitive wipes don't help. A nurse spots methylisothiazolinon in tiny print. They switch to water-based wipes and a simple zinc paste in a tube preserved with dehydrocetic acid. 48 hours later, the skin breathes again. The diaper wasn't the villain. The wipe was. Workers read the ledger fast. On set, a makeup artist purged parabens on principle. Under hot lights, open jars spoiled. She rebuilt with airtight compacts, single-dose packets, and a tight kit of fragrance-free moisturizers. Some kept short-chain parabens in airless bottles for continuity days. Basics went donor-free and MI-free. The rash log thinned. The kit stopped turning. Labeled decoding you can do in 10 seconds. Flip to the last third. If a leave-on lists propyl, isopropyl, or isobutyl paraben, consider a swap, especially for face moisturizer, eye cream, body lotion, diaper care, lip balm. Paraben-free isn't an automatic win. Many replacements use MI, MCI, or donor systems that trigger more allergy. Look instead for preservation that fits the base. Sodium benzoate and potassium sorbate in low pH creams, dehydrocetic acid, gluconolactone plus sodium benzoate, multifunctionals like caprylyl glycol and glyceryl caprylate. Pumps and airless bottles let milder systems work. Wide-mouth jars invite fingers, water, and stronger preservative. Packaging changes outcomes. Airless tubes reduce contamination. Cooler storage slows degradation. Heat and steam accelerate release. That's why bathroom cabinets aren't where creams thrive. Keep caps on. Don't leave bottles in hot cars. If something stings or itches, stop. That's damage, not proof it's working. 2 micro stories to make it stick. A distance runner's shoulder straps highlighted red patches every afternoon. She dropped scented body lotion preserved with MI for a benzoate sorbate cream in a pump, fragrance-free. The marks faded. A retiree clean hand cream with MI burned every application. She chose a fragrance-free formula that used only methyl and ethyl parabens. The burning stopped, not a paradox, just removing a sensitizer and keeping a system her skin tolerated. Household rhythm matters. Start where exposure multiplies. Body lotion, face moisturizer, eye cream, diaper care, lip balm. Make those fragrance-free by default, avoid long-chain parabens, and skip MI, MCI, and donors entirely. Keep hand soaps and shampoos simple and MI-free. Frequency stacks even when contact is brief. Manufacturing can do the rest. Good microbial challenge tests, clean fills, and smarter packaging let milder systems hold. Retailer specs that forbid long-chain parabens in leave-ons, ban MI, MCI in leave-ons, and exclude donor preservatives close easy loopholes. One buyer's standard becomes the base everyone ships. Reality check. Preservation prevents mold and outbreaks. The goal isn't purity, it's fit. Fewer sensitizers, better packaging, and ingredient choices matched to contact time. When your leave-ons stop adding a background sting, skin goes quiet and stays that way. Sun math, Oxybenzone, octinoxate, and why mineral wins faces. We've handled what sits on skin all day. Now we move to what guards it in daylight. Sunscreen isn't optional. The active line decides the trade-offs. 2 legacy filters, Oxybenzone and octinoxate, made older chemical sunscreens thin, clear, and easy. They also turned up in places nobody expected, from biomonitoring to reef rules. The question isn't whether to wear sunscreen. It's which filters, in what formats, and how you use them. Stakes first. This is daily faces. Kids at recess, lifeguards on deck, coaches on fields, delivery drivers with half their day behind a windshield. Sweat, heat, and eyes that sting end routines fast. Signals around oxybenzone and hormone pathways raised concern. Octinoxate carries its own. Several regions restricted sales near reefs, and many teams now ban aerosols because pool air started tasting like solvent. None of that argues against protection. It argues for smarter, calmer defaults. Action at 7:10 a.m. 2 bottles sit by the toothbrushes. One lists a chemical blend with oxybenzone and octinoxate. One is a tinted zinc cream. The kids hate white cast. The tint spreads fast and disappears. Ears and necks get a stick. Arms get a pump lotion. Nobody complains. The chemical bottle slides to the back and gathers dust. Compliance just improved because the texture and tone work. Meanwhile, a swim coach bans sprays on deck. Goggles had been fogging with perfume and lifeguards coughed during warm-ups. She switches the team to pump lotions for bodies and mineral sticks for faces, sets a 5-minute reapply drill, shade, towel, lotion back in, and the air stops stinging. Sunburns drop because technique and format beat slogan. Across town, a trail runner who hates chalky minerals tries again. Weekdays, a zinc gel serum under a cap. Race days, a lightly tinted mineral cream plus a brimmed hat. On longer routes, he pulls a UPF shirt so fewer square inches need product. The high sting problem that used to end runs early vanishes. He didn't find a miracle filter. He changed the toolkit. Here's the patchwork you live in. The US approves a set of older chemical filters. Newer, elegant ones common in Europe haven't cleared here yet. Some coastal regions restrict oxybenzone and octinoxate to protect reefs. Many brands reformulate locally while legacy stock lingers elsewhere. Practical rule for faces and kids. Lean mineral, zinc oxide, or titanium dioxide, especially in creams and sticks. Fewer hormone questions tied to those legacy actives, fewer fumes in small bathrooms, and less eyes sting on sweaty days. If chemical is the only texture a teen will wear, avoid the legacy too, then back coverage with hats, sleeves, and shade. Format matters as much as filters. Sprays waste product and fog lungs. If you insist, go outdoors, downwind, and rub in. Pumps and gels coat predictably. Sticks simplify ears, noses, hairlines, and the back of necks that always burn first. Tints solve cast for many tones and add iron oxides that help with visible light, crucial for melasma and hyperpigmentation. Label translation in 10 seconds. Flip to actives. If you see oxybenzone benzophenone 3 or octinoxate octyl methoxycinamate, decide whether it belongs in your daily rotation. Reef-friendly isn't regulated. Trust the active list, not the stamp. For bodies, volume matters. Shot glass amounts per full body. For faces, 2-finger lengths. Apply 15 minutes before sun. Reapply every 2 hours, sooner after toweling. Keep a face tube by the sink, a stick by the door, and a body pump in the bag that actually leaves the house. 3 micro stories lock the habit. A male carrier with melasma switches to tinted zinc plus a brim. Patches stop deepening each summer. A dermatologist keeps trays of mineral tints shade matched to real skin. Patients finally leave with something they'll use. A summer camp posts a no aerosols rule and sets a morning line. Counselors pump lotion into kids' hands and watch them rub. Fewer pink shoulders on day 3. Reality check. The best sunscreen is the one you'll apply enough of often. Build your defaults around mineral for faces and kids, pumps over sprays, formats that match sweaty lives, and clothing that never expires. Protect the skin in front of you, lower the environmental tab your drain would otherwise carry, and stop tasting perfume on pool decks. The sun math gets simple when the routine does. The fragrance trap, allergens, musks, and unscented, that isn't. From sunscreen on skin to what greets it after your towels, sheets, and the clean air in your rooms. Fragrance isn't just smell, it's a supply chain. One word on a label, fragrance, parfum, aroma, can conceal dozens of chemicals, solvents, fixatives, stabilizers, and known allergens. In much of Europe, specific allergens must be listed by name above tiny thresholds. Here you get one noun and a guessing game. That's how an eyelid rash becomes a mystery that lasts months. Stakes first. Eyelids, neck folds, behind ears, wrists under watch bands, thin skin zones react fastest. The culprit might not be your eye cream at all. It could be laundry scent baked into pillowcases or a hair product that touches fabric. Meanwhile, certain synthetic musks built to last don't stop at the bottle. They cling to hair, skin, textiles, and drift into indoor dust, then ride wastewater downstream. Your bedroom becomes a diffuser you never meant to plug in. Action in a 6:30 a.m. routine. A copywriter wakes with puffy eyelids and blames skincare. Swaps serums, rotates creams, nothing changes. A pharmacist asks a dull question, did your detergent or dryer sheets change? She rewashes sheets and towels in a fragrance-free detergent, skips softener and dryer sheets, cracks the window while the dryer runs. By Thursday, swelling fades. The trigger wasn't a fancy active. It was a fragrance allergen sitting on fabric touching eyelids 8 hours a night. Unknown to them, across town, a daycare director audits rashes after nap. Plugins out. Fragrance-free laundry for nap mats, table spray replaced with soap and a peroxide cleaner. Nurse log thins by month's end. Kids sleep on fabric, not perfume. In a rideshare, a driver clips a vent freshener and parks in the sun. Heat saturates the cabin. He spends 6 hours breathing it at nose level and starts counting headaches by shift. He removes the clip, vacuums, and wipes hard surfaces with plain soap. Headaches stop by week 2. Here's the map you can use without a spreadsheet. Fragrance-free beats unscented. Unscented often hides a masking scent to neutralize odor, still adding to the load. If you want scent, make it a single decision for an event, then stop. 1 candle for an hour, not 6 products that hum all day. Laundry is the loudest amplifier. Detergent, softeners, dryer sheets plus heat. Skip softeners and dryer sheets entirely. They coat fibers, irritate skin, and vent into air. Wool balls, and, if needed, a splash of white vinegar in the rinse handle most jobs. Micro stories lock it in. A violinist drops scented hand cream before rehearsals. Fishers stop. A landlord removes lobby plugins. Complaints about chemical smell dip. A NICU nurse goes fragrance-free at home. Her baby stops rubbing raw eyes. None of these required a miracle product. They removed a persistent background. Labeled decoding in 10 seconds. Fragrance, parfum, aroma, or masking fragrance are black boxes. Brands that publish allergen disclosure or certify phthalate-free fragrance offer a map, even if not required here. If customer service can answer 3 questions, do you use diethyl phthalate in fragrance? Do you disclose EU-listed allergens globally? Can you share your palette? That's useful. If they send slogans, that's an answer. Musks deserve their own moment. Many legacy nitro musks have been phased out. Polycyclic musks like Galaxolide still show up in dust and water and were built for persistence. That closet of clean smell is a slow release into indoor air. Your nose adapts, your lungs still count. Reducing background sources, laundry, air care, hair products that meet fabric, cuts the baseline more than swapping one perfume for another. Technique outruns habit. Ventilate during laundry and after cleaning, fan on during cycles, a window cracked, door open for 10 minutes post-drying. Wipe surfaces with damp microfiber, dry sweeping launches scented dust. Store scented items sealed, porous baskets perfume rooms for free. In small bathrooms, avoid aerosols entirely, mists hang at face height. If you like scent, choose a single product you love from a brand that discloses allergens. Use it briefly, and keep the rest of your routine fragrance free to maintain margin. 2 more micro stories. A runner's chest tightness eases after ditching dryer sheets. Hills stop tasting like spring meadow. A teacher rewashes classroom blankets in fragrance-free detergent. Nap fights drop because kids aren't sleeping in a cloud. Workers feel this early. A housekeeper pushes for fragrance-free lines. Gloves plus lower residue cleaners let her skip the nightly steroid cream. Reality check. Not every fragrance equals harm, and plenty of perfumers have moved away from specific allergens and legacy musks. But disclosure is thin, persistence is real, and background stacks fast. Cut the baseline. Fragrance-free core products, no softeners, no dryer sheets, 1 optional scented moment, real ventilation, and damp dusting. When the air goes quiet, skin often does too. Fresh should smell like nothing. Performance that never leaves. PFAS in makeup and floss. We leave the laundry room and land at the mirror, where 24-hour, transfer-proof and waterproof sound like confidence. Long wear often rode on a familiar crutch. Fluorinated additives from the PFAS family, slip agents, film formers, and surface treatments that make pigments lock and products glide. They don't just perform, they persist. Takes first. This is daily microdoses layered near eyes and lips, plus a habit you don't count. Flossing. PTFE floss. Think Teflon tape for teeth. Glides because nothing sticks to PFAS. That same stubbornness means what leaves your vanity doesn't leave your world easily. On skin, in dust, and down drains, persistence outlasts routine. Action at a busy vanity. A commuter swears by a liquid lipstick that never smudges between Subway and lunch. Mid-list on the panel live fluor clues, PTFE, perfluoro, polyfluoro terms hiding inside long words that look like Latin. The finish feels plush because a fluorinated slip coat says so. Down the hall, their partner flosses with a silky PTFE tape. It slides past tight contacts like a promise. The sink tells a quieter story. Meanwhile, in a network newsroom, a host worked under hot lights in bulletproof foundation and waterproof mascara. Removing it took oils, balms, and stinging scrubs. After the station adopted FAS-free specs, she shifted to a non-fluorinated long-wear base, set with powder and blot papers, and tubing mascara that slides off with warm water. Performance stayed. The nightly burn didn't. Workers feel it first. A makeup artist rebuilding a kit for sensitive clients ditches fluorinated lock primers and swaps in acrylic and silicone film formers, starches, and silica powders. She tests 3 FAS-free waterproof mascaras on marathon shoots. The third survives sweat and sunscreen. Red eyes after wrap become rare instead of routine. Label telling you can learn in a week. In makeup, scan for PTFE and any fluor/perfluoro/polyfluoro prefixes, perfluorooctyl trithoxysilane, polyperfluoromethylisopropyl ether, fluorosilicone variants. Long wear isn't automatic PFAS, but it's your prompt to check brand policies and retailer standards. Many now ban intentionally added PFAS in house brands and require total fluorine screening. In floss, PTFE is the giveaway. Silk, nylon, and UHMWPE. Ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene tapes glide without it. 2 micro-stories make the habit stick. A student swaps PTFE floss for a waxed nylon tape and adds a dab of toothpaste on the strand for slip. Week 2, it feels normal. A marathoner trades waterproof PFAS mascara for a tubing formula and keeps saline in her bag. Midday touch-ups stop tearing at the lid margin. Technique outruns chemistry. To replace a fluorinated base, start with a primer built on non-fluorinated polymers. Apply in thin layers, set with silica or mica, and carry blot papers. For eyeliners and brow gels, check for fluoro. Plenty hold without it. For setting, pick alcohol water sprays using standard film formers, then repowder instead of shellacking on a fluorinated seal. Retailers are already doing quiet policing. House brand bans on intentionally added PFAS force supplier attestations and periodic total fluorine testing. Once a big buyer demands a clean base, the same formula ships broadly because logistics hate extra SKUs. Your receipt multiplies the policy. Reality check. Not every longwear product hides PFAS, and not all PFAS behave alike. Persistence tilts the calculus. Start with 3 daily habits you control. Foundation, mascara, floss. Check actives and mid-lists for fluor clues. Favor brands that publish PFAS policies and test data, and run a 2-week swap. If your face looks the same at 6 p.m., your cleanser stops burning, and your floss still glides, you kept the performance and dropped the residue. That's the point. The residue problem. Quats at home, in classrooms, and on fabrics. We've been trimming ghosts in the sink and the mirror. Now meet the film that stays. Quaternary ammonium compounds. Quats like benzalkonium chloride BAC and diethyl chloride DDAC. They punch holes in microbes, then linger on surfaces, hands, and fabrics as a thin, tacky promise of 99.9%. The promise sticks to lungs and skin, too. Stakes first. This is air at kid height in sealed rooms, fingers to eyelids after desk wipe-downs, and towels that stop absorbing because their fibers wear a cationic coat. Quats are respiratory irritants. Repeated exposure tracks with work-related asthma patterns in cleaners, teachers, and child care staff. On skin, they dry and sting already overwashed hands. The loop is simple. Wipe, touch, rub. Action in a 3rd grade classroom at 8:05 a.m. The bell rings. The teacher swipes every desk with a fragranced quat wipe, windows sealed for HVAC efficiency. By lunch, 2 kids ask for the nurse, watery eyes, tight chests. The teacher's knuckles burn despite sensitive lotion. Facilities reads labels, BAC, DDAC, and rewrites the routine. Soap and water to clean, hydrogen peroxide cleaner for daily touchpoints, stronger disinfectant only for vomit, blood, or posted outbreaks, and fans on for contact time. 2 weeks later, the room smells like pencils and dry erase markers. Nurse visits fall. Meanwhile, a rideshare driver missed a quat spray between trips, windows up, recirculate on. By hour 2, the headache is predictable. He switches to alcohol wipes for high-touch spots at shift end, keeps hand sanitizer for himself, and cracks windows for a 60-second purge after each fare. Ratings stay high. The cough doesn't come back. Micro-story in a salon where habit felt like hygiene. Combs and clips soaked in a quat tub all day. Stylist's hands fissured every winter. The owner rereads state rules. Clean with soap and water, then disinfect with approved options at stated contact times, lids on jars, timers for dwell and ventilation. She adds splash guard lids, posts contact times at each station, and sets fans behind chairs. Hands heal because the chemical spends minutes in the jar, not hours on air and skin. Another hotspot hides in the laundry room. Fabric softeners and dryer sheets often use cationic surfactants, quat-like compounds, to coat fibers. They make towels feel soft and smell fresh while wrecking absorbency, irritating some skin, and building a slow-release film that heats off in the dryer plume. Drop softeners. Use wool balls and, if needed, a splash of white vinegar in the rinse. Towels drink again. The hallway stops smelling like mountain spring. Labeled decoding you can do fast. On wipes and sprays, benzalkonium chloride, alkyl dimethylbenzyl ammonium chloride, diethyl dimethylammonium chloride. If it ends in ammonium chloride, it's a quat. Alcohol wipes list ethanol or isopropanol with a percent. Peroxide cleaners list hydrogen peroxide and give a contact time. Mouthwashes and throat sprays sometimes use cetylpyridinium chloride, effective locally, not a daily background for already irritated mouth. Antibacterial hand soaps that aren't alcohol-based often rely on BAC. They're harsher on hands and slower on many viruses. Plain soap for sinks. 60 to 70% alcohol sanitizer away from sinks. Save quats for messes that earn them. This was the moment everything changed for a district buyer. Complaint logs spiked after a new wipe contract. She lined up safety data sheets, circled BAC and DDAC, and called vendors. Within a month, the district standardized on fragrance-free hand soap, peroxide cleaners for daily use, and a protocol that saved quats for bodily fluids and posted outbreaks. Custodians got gloves, lidded caddies, and better carts. Chemicals used dropped because overwiping stopped. Nurse visits dipped with it. Technique outruns anxiety. Clean first, soap, water, microfiber, lift biology. Disinfect only when risk exists. Bathrooms, raw meat spills, illness zones. Let the surface stay with the full contact time, then move air. Rinse food contact surfaces after heavy disinfection. Measure concentrates, label bottles, wear gloves for wet work, and crack a window. 2 micro stories to lock the habit. A parent replaces the kitchen quat spray with a peroxide cleaner and teaches a 2-cloth routine, 1 to clean, 1 to dry. Sticky counters disappear. So do after dinner coughs. A gym drops quat fogging, posts fans at doors, uses alcohol on handles and soap on mats. Members stop tasting chemicals mid-set. Reality check. Quats belong in isolation rooms, outbreak response, and specific sanitation tasks. They don't need daily residency on coffee tables, desks, or toys. Your home gets cleaner when clean means removal, not residue. Save heavy disinfectants for earn moments. Let air move. Let surfaces dry. Make fresh the absence of smell, not a film you carry on your hand. Containers lie too. BPA, BPS, thermal paper, and heat oil time. We've been reading labels on bottles. Now the part you don't read, the package itself. The container is chemistry you never see printed, and heat, oil, and time decide what leaves it. Stakes first. This is coffee in a hot car, tomato soup in a lined can, takeout reheated in its own tub, a cashier tearing warm receipts all shift, and a diaper bag stacked with soft plastics. Endocrine timing matters most for pregnancy, infants, and puberty, but adults live in the same stream. The hazard isn't one dramatic dose. It's small, repeated pairings, heat plus oil, pressure plus friction, that move molecules into fingers and food. Action on a summer shift. A cafe manager runs the till as the line bends to the door. Thermal receipts spool out warm and slightly powdery. She tears a slip, tucks hair behind her ear, splits a stack of cups, then grabs a muffin bag. Paper to fingers to food takes seconds. Across town, a parent microwaves pasta in the takeout tub it came in. The lid bows, sauce glosses, the kitchen smells faintly plastic. That night, infant formula poured from a lined can warms in a bottle, while a pacifier pops from a soft PVC clamshell. None of it looks like chemistry. All of it is. Meanwhile, in a small cosmetics warehouse, a face oil that stayed perfect in amber glass drifts off note when filled in warm polypropylene and stacked near a heater. A packaging engineer flags the cap liner and antioxidant package. They move back to glass with a lined aluminum cap. The formula stops wandering. The fix isn't a magic preservative. It's a different container. Here's the quiet villain and its costume change. Bisphenol hardened plastics and lined cans for decades. When BPA became a headline, many products switched to BPS or BPF, cousins with similar endocrine questions. BPA-free is a claim about one letter, not a guarantee about the effect. In acidic, oily foods, tomatoes, fish, linings matter more. Some brands publish replacements, acrylic, polyester, so you can pick without guessing. Thermal paper deserves its own beat. Many receipts use bisphenol developers that can dust onto skin, especially when warm. You don't need panic. You need fewer touches. Digital by default helps. If you must handle, don't crumple. Keep receipts away from snacks and wash before eating. For workers, the fix is policy. Email receipts, phenol-free paper, gloves during rushes, and a hand wash before breaks. A pharmacist with chronic hand dermatitis made that shift and finally closed winter fissures. The pills didn't change, the paper did. Label translation you can do fast. Plastic codes aren't destiny, but they help sort your kitchen. Soft vinyl hides under 3. Hard polycarbonate often shows up as 7. Better defaults around heat and oil, glass and stainless for cooking, hot drinks and storage of acidic or fatty foods, ceramic in the microwave. If a plastic container is scratched, cloudy, or smells like last week's curry, retire it. Technique that survives real life. Transfer hot takeout to a plate or glass as soon as you can. Don't microwave plastic, even if it shows a fork and wave glyph. Those icons mean won't melt, not won't migrate. For cans, favor tomatoes and sauces in glass or cartons when possible. If canned, rinse what can be rinsed and decant leftovers to glass. Don't store all heavy foods in soft plastic in a hot car or garage. For babies, glass or polypropylene bottles rated for heat, with parts soaked per instructions. Not stewed at a boil. Protect the margin you care about. 2 micro-stories lock the habit. A teacher who lived on canned chickpeas emails 2 brands. One confirms acrylic linings, the other won't say. She switches, rinses, and keeps a running note on her phone. A commuter stops microwaving in takeout tubs. Pasta tastes brighter, and the container stops perfuming the office fridge. Workers feel the lever first. A grocery chain flips to digital receipts and phenol-free rolls. Cashiers stop counting headaches by shift. A cafe posts "Ask if you want a receipt," moves the printer away from the pastry case, and installs a hand wash script at breaks. Quiet changes, fewer rashes. Reality check. You won't purge bisphenols and plasticizers in a weekend. You don't need to. Remove the worst pairings: plastic plus microwave, thermal paper plus snacks, oils in soft plastic plus heat. Put glass, ceramic, and stainless where heat and acid live. Go digital when it's easy. One can staple at a time toward brands that disclose linings. Boring swaps, daily wins. The package becomes part of your plan, not part of the dose. Lightning round. 15 red flags you meet weekly. We've cleared the big rooms. Now the quick hits that sneak in through habits and hardware. 15 flags, 30 seconds each, swaps that stick. Toluene in nail care. It thins polish and levels perfectly and builds fumes in small rooms. Stakes, headaches, wooziness, irritated airways. Action, crack a window, set a $20 desktop fan pulling fumes away from your face, not across it. Pros use source capture. At home, pick toluene-free lines and let coats dry between layers. Impact, steadier hands, fewer end-of-day headaches. Formaldehyde hair smoothing. Keratin services that need heat can off-gas formaldehyde from methylene glycol. Stakes, stinging eyes, burning throats, salon staff coughing through shifts. Action, skip any service that requires respirators or closed doors. Choose verified formaldehyde-free smoothing or embrace cut, conditioner, brush, and blow-dry technique. Impact, better air in the chair, fewer rashes on wrist. Resorcinol in oxidative dyes. It's a key coupler that adds exposure on top of PPD-PTD. Stakes, skin irritation and endocrine concerns. Action, ask for lower resorcinol lines, off-scalp placement, and real patch tests. At home, demi or direct dyes reduce scalp contact. Impact, fewer flares, same shade goal. Benzene in aerosols. Contamination can ride in with propellants, dry shampoos, some sunscreens, some deodorants. Stakes, a known carcinogen, recalls prove the root. Action, prefer pumps, sticks, and powders. If you must spray, go outdoors, downwind, then rub in. Check recall lists by lot code before you buy. Impact, same result, cleaner air. Coal tar shampoos, effective for heavy scale but better short courses than daily life. Stakes, controversial long-term use, strong fumes in steamy showers. Action, use in brief stints under clinician guidance. Rotate zinc pyrithione, selenium sulfide, or ketoconazole. Ventilate well. Impact, calmer scalp, calmer bathroom air. Homosalate in face sunscreens, under scrutiny at higher concentrations. Stakes, daily facial use multiplies exposure. Action, for faces and kids, go mineral. If chemical textures are your only wearables, choose blends without homosalate, oxybenzone, or octinoxate. Impact, better adherence, fewer question marks. BHA, BHT in snacks and lip products. Synthetic antioxidants prolong shelf life and the debate. Stakes, animal studies fuel caution. Action, pick brands that state BHA, BHT free, fresher oils, vacuum-packed nuts, and airless pumps for face oils. Impact, better taste, less stale note, leaner labels. Nonylphenol ethoxylates in detergents. They can degrade to more potent nonylphenols in waterways. Stakes, aquatic toxicity, downstream costs. Action, choose detergents built on safer surfactants, glucosides, or well-specified alcohol ethoxylates from brands that publish specs. Impact, clean clothes, cleaner rivers. Chlorinated paraffins in DIY lubes and sealants. Persistent, bioaccumulative, restricted elsewhere. Stakes, long-lived residues in your garage and body. Action, buy SCCP, MCCP-free products, wear nitrile gloves, ventilate like a paint booth, and keep SDS sheets. Impact, same fix, less baggage. Ethanolamines plus nitrosamines. Amines can form nitrosamines with the wrong impurities. Stakes, a carcinogen pathway. Action, limit multiamine stacks across daily products. Favor brands that test for nitrosamines, especially in leave-ons. Impact, fewer stacked risks from small repeats. Phosphates in dishwashers. Most regions phased out, but bargain bulk stock lingers. Stakes, algal blooms downstream. Action, choose phosphate-free tabs, scrape not pre-rinse, and clean the filter monthly. Impact, sparkling dishes, lighter water bills and rivers. Titanium dioxide in candies. Flagged by EU authorities and banned from foods in the EU. Stakes, potential genotoxicity signals in lab work. Action, red labels, pick reformulated versions. Many brands now publish color systems. Impact, same treat, less chemistry. HFCS everywhere, not a single villain but a cheap calorie amplifier. Stakes, diet drift, steady blood sugar hits. Action, default to water, pick sauces without HFCS and choose soda versions with sugar or skip them. Impact, taste resets in 2 weeks, cravings follow. Ractopamine in meat, a growth drug banned by many importers. Stakes, animal stress concerns and global rejections. Action, choose no ractopamine pork or brands that certify export standard herds. Ask butchers how they know. Impact, fewer surprises when markets tight. Potassium bromate in bread, a dough improver on the wrong lists overseas. Stakes, cancer concerns and lagging reformulations. Action, pick unbromated flour on bakery cards, bromate-free loaves, and artisan or short ingredient labels. Impact, same sandwich, better default. 5 fast label hacks. Fragrance-free beets unscented. PTFE equals PFAS in floss. Ammonium chloride names quats. PEG/eth/oxinol flags ethoxylates. Look for dioxane controls. BPA-free asks what replaced it. Email for linings. 3 micro stories to seal the list. A guitarist's headaches vanish after swapping aerosol dry shampoo for a powder and opening a window. A line cook quits chlorinated paraffin lube at home, buys an SCCP-free grease, and the forearm rashes end. A parent moves tomatoes to glass and beans to cartons. Dinner tastes brighter, the bin gets lighter. Reality check, you don't need a spreadsheet. Swap the format, move the air, ask one question, read one line. 15 tiny levers, one calmer house. Why labels fail you? And the questions that work. We've been reading panels like detectives. Now the twist, the label was never designed to tell you the whole story. It's a statement of intent, not an inventory of reality. Fragrance can hide dozens of chemicals as a trade secret. Contaminants like 1,4-dioxane or benzene don't appear because they weren't added on purpose. Packaging never confesses even though it touches your food and skin. And categories split your house into 4 agencies with different rulebooks. You live in one room. The law doesn't. Stakes first. This is time saved versus trust earned. You can do everything right in the aisle and still bring home a ghost because reformulations roll under the radar, suppliers change sources, and a friendly claim, BPA-free, reef-friendly, dermatologist-tested, says little about substitutions, process controls, or thresholds. When you rely on headlines, you get the swap. BPA becomes BPS, parabens disappear, and MCI arrives. Longwear cleans up by moving from one fluorinated additive to another. The feel stays. The residue changes costumes. Action in a living room with a stack of half-used bottles. A parent emails a detergent brand asking, "Is this fragrance phthalate-free?" Support replies with a slogan. They write again, "Do you disclose EU-listed allergens globally?" Silence. Third email, "How do you control 1,4-dioxane in ethoxylated surfactants? Supplier specs, vacuum stripping, batch testing?" A real person answers with methods and numbers plus a PDF. That's a map, not a mood board. They switch. 2 weeks later, no one misses ocean breeze. The headaches don't return on laundry day. Unknown to them, across town, a runner messages a cosmetics line. Do you use intentionally added PFAS, PTFE, perfluoro, polyfluoro, anywhere in this range? Do you screen total fluorine? The brand links a policy, retailer compliance, and test summaries. She keeps her shade and drops the nightly oil bath to remove it. Same mirror, less cling. Here's the playbook that works when labels don't. Ask about processes, not slogans. Fragrance. Do you disclose EU-listed allergens globally? Is your fragrance phthalate-free, DEP included? Can you share your palette or a safety data summary? Ethoxylates. How do you control 1,4-dioxane, supplier specs, vacuum stripping, lot testing? Do you meet New York's limits across all SKUs? PFAS. Any intentionally added PFAS, PTFE, perfluoro, polyfluoro across this product line? Do you run total fluorine screens? Will you share results or retailer attestations? Preservatives. Which system is in this formula? Do you use MI, MCI, or formaldehyde donors in any leave-ons? Packaging. What lines your cans? Acrylic, polyester. Any bisphenols in caps or liners? Heat and oil tests on this format? Real answers include methods, thresholds, and sometimes lot ranges. Slogans dodge. When support can't answer after 3 tries, that's your answer. Reformulation drift is the quiet trap. A lotion you tolerated adds fragrance for consumer delight. A clean hand soap swaps parabens for MI. An export-compliant detergent loosens controls when state or retailer pressure eases. You can't track every batch, but you can track your skin. Keep a dull notes app, product, lot code, where it touched and what else was in play that day. If a flare fades after a swap, you've found a lever. That same log gives a dermatologist enough to patch tests smart and gives a brand a reason to escalate to quality. Category splits create false comfort. Antibacterial, hand soap lives under a drug monograph. A disinfecting wipe is a pesticide. Candles are consumer goods. An antiperspirant sits under drug facts. A long-wear foundation is a cosmetic with performance claims that never mention film formers. Translate the split back to your reality. Daily exposure, contact time, and air. Pick defaults that work even when panels are quiet. Fragrance-free cores, mineral face sunscreens, pumps over jars, glass or stainless where heat and acid live, soap and microfiber for daily cleaning, disinfectants when earned with contact time and ventilation. Retailers are the shadow regulators. One big buyer spec, PFAS-free house brand cosmetics, EU-style allergen disclosure, MI bans in leave-ons, numeric caps on 1,4-dioxane, forces suppliers to standardize the stricter base. Your receipt enforces the rule. Pick stores that publish standards and watch their vendor lists. Micro stories that seal the habit. A school PTA copies 3 emails into a purchasing request. Phthalate-free fragrance disclosure, MI-free leave-ons, no intentionally added PFAS in kits. 2 months later, soap changes across the district and the nurse log shrinks. A landlord writes 1 line into work orders. Fragrance-free cleaners, fans on during and 20 minutes after cleaning. Lobby air stops humming with perfume. Reality check. Labels won't carry everything and they never will. You don't need a chemistry degree. You need better questions, boring defaults, and a habit of tracking outcomes. Ask for methods and numbers. Reward answers. When the panel is silent, let routine do the talking. Fewer persistent backgrounds, more moving air, simpler bases, smarter packages. The house feels different when ambiguity isn't invited in. The personal audit. An 8-week, low-drama reset. You've seen where the drips hide. Now make the fixes boring on purpose. 1 cart, 1 habit, 1 room at a time. 8 weeks, small swaps, no scavenger hunt. Week 1, laundry. This change touches every pillowcase and shirt. Switch to a fragrance-free detergent. Skip softeners and dryer sheets. They coat fibers and vent into air. Toss in wool balls, and if towels feel stiff, add a splash of white vinegar in the rinse. Crack a window or run a fan during drying. Rewash sheets and towels to clear the old scent film. By Thursday, the house smells like nothing again. That's the win. Week 2, lotion. Leave-ons drive exposure. Pick 2 fragrance-free moisturizers in pumps, 1 light, 1 rich, preserved without MI, MCI, formaldehyde donors, or long-chain parabens. Look for sodium benzoate potassium sorbate in low pH bases, dihydroacetic acid, gluconolactone plus sodium benzoate, or multifunctionals like caprylyl glycol. Jars tempt fingers, airless beats wide mouth. If something stings, stop. That's damage, not proof it's working. Week 3, sunscreen. Make mineral your face default, zinc or titanium in creams and sticks. Keep a tinted mineral that matches your skin by the sink, a stick by the door for ears and necks, and a body pump in the bag that actually leaves the house. No aerosols indoors. If a teen only wears chemical, avoid oxybenzone and octinoxate and back it with hats, sleeves, and shade. 2-finger lengths for a face, shot glass for a body, reapply on a timer. Week 4 shampoo, trade donors and MIMCI for cleaner bases. If you see eth/PEG/oxynol, ask the brand how they control 1,4-dioxane, vacuum stripping, supplier specs, lot testing. If they can't answer, pick non-ethoxylated glucosides or modern bars that lather without the ghost. Rinse hair back, not forward, to spare eyelids. Ventilate the shower like it matters. Steam turns small emissions into a room problem. Week 5, deodorant and antiperspirant. Fit and timing beat slogans. If wetness is the issue, apply antiperspirant at night to dry skin. Plugs form while you sleep and last into the day. If odor is the issue, use an unscented deodorant and wash armpits with soap after workouts. Baking soda burns some people. Magnesium, zinc, or gentle acids can work. Shave at night. Reset one fragrance-free week each season to check if irritation is product or habit. Week 6, floss and makeup. PTFE on the carton means PFAS on the strand. Switch to silk, nylon, or UHMWPE tape and add a dab of toothpaste for glide. In makeup, scan mid-lists for PTFE, perfluoro, polyfluoro, fluorosilane. Swap to non-fluorinated long wear built on acrylic silicone film formers, set with silica or mica, and carry blot papers. Tubing mascaras slide off with warm water, no oil bath at night. Week 7, hand soap and dish liquid. These hit skin dozens of times a day. Go fragrance-free and my/Mackay-free. In dish liquids and hand washes, favor glucosides and sarcosonates. If you stick with ethoxylates, choose brands that state 1,4-dioxane controls in writing. Measure soap, more is residue. Use gloves for long sinks, run a fan, and log any eyelid or hand flares for 2 weeks. Patterns beat memory. Week 8, your one indulgence. Pick a single scented product you love from a brand that discloses EU-listed allergens globally and states phthalate-free fragrance. Use it for an event, then stop. Scent becomes a moment, not a background. Everything else, detergent, body wash, face cream, hand soap, stays fragrance-free by default. 2 rules keep the whole audit calm. Use up versus toss. Finish what you can unless it stings, makes you cough, or it's an MIMCI leave-on for kids. Those go now. Don't move a problem from skin to landfill overnight. And ventilate like it's part of the product. Fans during laundry and cleaning, 10 minutes of fresh air after, bathroom exhausts that actually pull. Tracking turns tweaks into proof. Snap a photo of labels and lot codes, note where a product touched, and name the day's stack: detergent, dryer sheets, cleaners. If a headache fades or a rash calms after a swap, that's your lever. Bring the notes to a dermatologist for patch testing. If you stall, you'll leave with a personal avoid list that beats guesswork. 2 micro stories for the finish. A parent runs the 8-week plan without telling anyone. By week 2, the baby stops rubbing eyes at night. By week 4, the runner in the house stops coughing on wash days. By week 6, nobody misses the old fresh linen. Another household log stings from a clean hand cream, swaps to a benzoate sorbate pump, and the burning stops. No miracle, just removal of a drip. The house won't feel different on day 1. It will by day 14. Quiet air is the first signal. Quiet skin follows. Keep the cart simple, the fans on, the labels short, and the winds boring. That's how it sticks. The building levers. Procurement, ventilation, and testing. 1 page beats a slogan. Right specs: fragrance-free cores, MI-free leave-ons, PFAS-free cosmetics, 1,4-dioxane caps, no aerosols indoors, quats reserved for biohazards. Vent targets in work orders, fans on during after cleaning. Log worker symptoms with lot codes. Pool budgets for spot tests, total fluorine, benzene, dioxane, and tie results to vendor scorecards. The policy ratchet. How states and retailers shift the market. We've fixed 1 home and 1 building. Now watch how boring policy turns into a lever you can feel in your sink, your air, and your cart. Not sweeping bans, ratchets, each notch small, each one sticking. Stakes first. This is what happens when a state caps a contaminant or a retailer writes a spec. Suppliers don't want 2 formulas. Logistics hate complexity. So the stricter base becomes the default, and your house gets the benefit without you ever reading a press release. Action in a lab and a loading dock. A state sets numeric limits on 1,4-dioxane in household and personal care products. Overnight, procurement teams call raw material vendors. Ethoxylated surfactants get vacuum stripped, batch tested, and the certificate of analysis moves from a file cabinet to the spec. The same base ships nationwide because making a New York version and a rest of country version costs more than doing it right once. Weeks later, a bottle on your shelf quietly grows a new line, purity refined, and your drain carries less of a ghost it never asked for. Meanwhile, a national retailer publishes house brand standards. No intentionally added PFAS in cosmetics, EU-style allergen disclosure for fragrance, MI/MCI banned in leave-ons, numeric ceilings for dioxane and ethoxylated inputs, and no aerosols in indoor use categories. Suppliers sign attestations, then send product to third-party labs for total fluorine screens, benzene scans in aerosols by lot, and dioxane data. Failures lose shelf space. Passing bases get reused in other SKUs because it's cheaper to standardize. Shoppers experience it as fewer headaches on laundry day and makeup that still performs without the nightly oil bath to remove it. Micro-story in a school district. Complaint logs spike, coughs after morning wipe downs, stinging eyes in classrooms, rashy hands at the sink. A buyer lines up safety data sheets and circles Quats, fragrance, and MI in leave-ons. She writes a one-page spec, fragrance-free hand soap, peroxide cleaners for daily use, Quats reserved for vomit, blood, and post-it outbreaks, MI-free wipes, no aerosols indoors, fans on during and after cleaning. Vendors already have compliant lines. They want the contract. 2 months later, the nurse log thins. Custodians get gloves and lidded caddies. Fewer chemicals go down drains because overwiping stops. Across town, a county pool system posts 2 rules. No aerosol sunscreens on deck and mineral only for face dispensers at lifeguard stands. Coaches teach pump and rub on day 1. Deck air stops tasting like solvent. Reapply drills replace clouds. Burn reports drop. Nobody reads a study. They feel the air change. Here's how the ratchet works across a map. One state caps 1,4-dioxane, another bans intentionally added PFAS in cosmetics, a third restricts formaldehyde donors or MI in leave-ons, California flags food and color additives and pushes warning labels, New York moves thermal paper to phenol-free stock. Each notch forces upstream documentation. Suppliers clean processes, confirm with tests, and carry the same improved base into other states because running multiple formulations costs more than compliance. Retailers act like shadow regulators. Their standards, PFAS-free, MI-free leave-ons, allergen disclosure, fragrance-free defaults for house brands, become de facto national policy when enforced with audits and spot testing. Trust but verify turns into random pulls for total fluorine, benzene, and dioxane. Fail once and the vendor's scorecard takes a hit. Fail twice and a competitor gets your shelf. Testing closes the loop. Co-ops of schools, clinics, and cities pool budgets for spot checks. Total fluorine screens on long-wear makeup. GCMS for benzene in aerosols. 1,4-dioxane in surfactants. A suspect line gets flagged. A vendor explains or reformulates, and the fix ripples across thousands of homes because the same soap sits in the nurse's office and your bathroom. When testing moves upstream, your kitchen sink stops being the detection system. Worker logs are sensors that policy can read. A salon owner tracks blowout coughs by product and time. A rideshare union logs headaches tied to cabin sprays. A preschool posts rashes by room and notes new detergent. Those boring grids turn anecdotes into patterns and patterns into specs. Replace quat tubs with lidded jars and timers. Swap to alcohol for high-touch car surfaces. Move to fragrance-free laundry for shared linens. Facilities write the changes into orders. The fixes stick through staff turnover because they live on paper, not in memory. Meanwhile, consumers create heat with lot codes and receipts. A parent emails a brand with a rash photo, the lot number, and 3 questions: PFAS, MIMCI, dioxane controls, and copies a retailer and state office. A small wave of identical emails becomes a quiet vendor meeting. The next run ships cleaner. The panel doesn't brag, the outcome does. Reality in one sentence: ratchets beat swings. State caps force national reformulations. Retailer standardize suppliers. EU allergen rules spill over because brands don't want 2 labels. Consumer reports with lot codes create urgency. And no aerosols inside goes from a suggestion to a rule taped to the janitor's cart. Boring wins because it's repeatable. You feel it as quieter air, calmer skin, and shelves that stop humming with claims and start matching your day. Fresh should smell like nothing. quiet air, simple labels, and products that do the job without leaving a film on your skin or in your lungs. If you want more fixes that work in real buildings, watch our follow-up on writing specs vendors actually follow. Subscribe for untold stories that turn receipts into levers, and share this with the person who buys for your home, your school, or your team.